Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing on this amazing Friday? And we're back again with our event, Clone and Chill. My name is Agustin Carrozo, and let's get started. Already a spoiler. So, running down what it is we're going to be doing today. So, every Friday is basically where we sit down together and we try to build something cool, getting comfortable in WeWeb, getting experience, and dedicating a special time in our time slots to basically play around with WeWeb. And yeah, feel free to open your mic or camera or your screen. There's gonna be a link I'm gonna be sharing later, or just through the comments. All right. So what are we gonna be building today? We did a voting in the community, and you guys voted for creating a Pomodoro timer app. So what's a Pomodoro time for those of you who don't know? It basically is a clock where you can clock time to work and time to rest. So it's normally this theory is that we have 25 minutes focus of work, which is on 25 minutes you're gonna have an amazing flow about sitting down to work, but you're gonna need 5 minutes to rest. So it's gonna be like 25 work, 5 minutes rest, 25, 5 minutes. I know most of you know this, but so these are the two features we're gonna need to work with. And in order to create this sort of timers, I had to do a little bit of research, and I created an app before doing this event yesterday. I'm gonna be sharing it with you guys. So what this app's gonna need to do is basically we're gonna need to have a timer start, right? Something that's gonna trigger the timer, pause it, and reset it right back to zero. And another thing is we're gonna need to change the label from work to rest, so our app understands when we're running the work timer, 25 minutes, and the rest timer, 5 minutes. And then the most important part about this project is this method, that it's a JavaScript method that's called set interval, and it is inherited from Windows. So obviously this is a little bit more advanced, and but I needed to explain to you guys these two JavaScript snippets, which is we're going to be using them inside of formulas, and it's Windows set interval, which basically repeats a given function at every given time interval. Basically, it's a function that runs permanently, and we're gonna tell it, okay, run every second. You're gonna add +1 to our timer, right? So it's gonna be increasing. In our case, we're gonna decrease it 1 second, so it's gonna be decreasing, right? 25 minutes, 24, 23, and so forth. And in order to stop it and to clear, we're gonna need to invoke the clear interval, right? So this is just a very basic explanation of what it is that we're gonna be doing. And all right, so I did a little bit of explaining all of the formulas and variables we're gonna be using. And I'm gonna be coming back to this, but first I want to show you what it is that WeWeb AI created in a single prompt. I'm gonna show it to you. So I can come here into my AI label, and the only prompt I gave it was, I want to build a simple mobile UI Pomodoro timer app. And that's it. It created this app, and it works perfectly. And this is what we're gonna be using to base off. And so it starts running. There's a little pulsating animation, so I like that it included that, so it's polished. You can pause it, resume, and reset, right? So these are the functionalities we're going to be working with. And in order to create this, it had to create a couple of variables, 5 variables. And hey, Juson, how you doing? And yeah, 5 variables: break duration, time remaining, timer state, timer type, and work duration. I'm gonna be breaking them down in a little bit. So I decided that before we try to build this from scratch, we're gonna see how this works. So that's why I kind of broke it down. So one of the first things I wanted to do is separate all of the variables that this app has. So first of all, we're going to have a time remaining variable, which means all of the time remaining in seconds. So in this case, we're going to be using 1,500 because that means 25 minutes transformed to seconds, right? So this is the variable time remaining. You can see here 1,500. Then another variable is called timer state, which basically is going to hold our states when we pause, we run, or we stop. Here, timer state, right? It's a text variable, which is going to be, it's going to have stopped, running, and pause, just like I said. Then we're going to have timer type, which is going to divide our app into work time and break time. Just like I said here, that we're going to need to have the work to rest, which here it called it break, right? So our app changes everything whenever we're working or we're resting, right? Because it needs to change colors, it needs to change variables. So we need to hold that variable. That's why I created timer type, which is here, timer type, work or break. Then we're going to have two variables where we're going to hold the values that we want our app to work with for the break duration and the work duration. Basically, the default Pomodoro method for studying and working is 25 minutes of work and 5 minutes of rest. But we should be able to edit this, right? And change whatever value we want to use. So that's why we have break duration and work duration, which is going to be holding the value in seconds, right? So 1,500 seconds means 25 minutes, and break duration here, 300 seconds equals 5 minutes. All right, so we are able to edit this, and you are able to see that in real time. I'm going to change this. Just as an example, here it says 25, right? And let's say I want to change my work duration. Let's make it less. Let's make it 100. And in here in time remaining, let's also change it, because this is a value that's going to grab. There's going to be a bunch of calculations inside of this app, and time remaining is going to be speeding out the seconds from 25 to 0. But I need to change it right now because we wanted to change it to 100. Now we have 1 minute and 40, right? And so that's why we have all of these variables. All right, so where is even this 25 coming from? Let's start breaking it down. So this 25, it's a time display, is a text element, which its text is tied to a formula, right? And the text is tied to this formula. It's called formatted time. And I'm going to show you right now what is this formula. Here we have the formula that's called formatted time. The reason for this formula to exist is to format the seconds, right? Since you guys remember it's called in seconds, 1,500, and transform it into a time that we understand. So we wanted to format it to minutes, MMSS, meaning minutes and seconds. So 1,500 equals to 25 minutes. So it's going to be calling this formula, which we can access here. And logic and formatted time. Now let's open it up and break down what this formula does. All right. The first thing it does is to get the current time remaining in seconds. So it's going to be grabbing this variable that's called time remaining, which, if you guys remember, here it says very clearly, right? It says the value is 1,500, and we created a description, time remaining in seconds, right? Which basically is this one here, time remaining, right? So it's going to grab that formula, sorry, that variable, time remaining, and it's going to format it. Okay, time remaining, this variable is going to calculate the minutes and seconds. So it's going to do a bunch of JavaScript. Basically, it's going to divide it by 60. So we get minutes and seconds. And it's also going to do a padding with zeros if we need to, right? And at the end, it's going to return the formatted time string. Now, this could be done with normal no-code formulas, but I think that asking AI to do it is faster, and it created a bunch of things that I wouldn't have thought about it, right? Like just doing the padding, I wouldn't think about it. So this is a very simple formula that basically does this, right? Turns this into this by dividing by 60. and doing a bunch of formatting as well, because it's gonna spit here. You can see that it's doing a return of the formatted minutes, colon, formatted seconds, right? So it's doing all of this in a single formula. So it's very smart. So that's why we're having 25 here and not 1,500. Perfect. Now, the second part of this, I changed this. Yeah, work duration, it should be 1,500, which is 25 minutes. All right. The second part is how do we make this app work? So we need to click this button and something needs to execute, right? Because so far we're only showing static values. Where's the logic of this app? So this button right now, it has an action that's going to be basically calling a global workflow. So here it says await utils function execute global function. So it basically, we created a button that calls a global function. It's calling the global function named start timer. We can see that global function here in logic, start timer. So let's close it. So as soon as I click on this button, I'm going to be invoking this workflow, start timer. And when I click on this, it's going to have 3 steps, 3 actions. My first action is going to be change variable value, timer state. Basically, is that variable we created that's going to hold if our clock is running or stopped. And once again, we had that variable here. Change variable value, timer state. Yeah, timer state. We can hold stopped, running, or paused. These are the 3 the 3 values we can give it. All right, back to this workflow. First step, set it to running, right? Timer state is running. Second step is going to clear an existing interval. Now here we start seeing that timer interval that I mentioned right here. There's a window set interval and a clear interval. And at some point, we create a variable that's called timer interval. And we're just making sure that nothing is running in the background, right? Obviously, this is the AI created this step, which again, I wouldn't have thought about it. It is preventing us to making mistakes, basically. And okay, so step 1, change the variable to running. Second step, making sure that we're having a timer interval that's clean. So we're in a clean slate. Let's start from scratch. And the third part of this workflow basically is going to create all of that functionality of making the clock run backwards, basically. Here we have the explanation. Create interval that decrements time remaining and handles timer completion. Now, this is, I think this is the formula that's most complex here, which is also not that complex. Let me help you guys break it down. Let's open this. Yeah, this is way easier, actually. I'm sorry. Making it bigger. All right. Here, window.timer interval equals set interval. Remember, this is a function. Sorry, it's not a function. It's a method. As I said, set interval is a method that repeats a given function at every given time interval. This is a general web design thing. It comes from our browser. You can check here in W3 Schools. It's a JavaScript timing event. So it's going to be inherent for every browser we're going to be using. So it basically teaches us to use it by using set timeout or clear timeout or set interval, clear interval, right? And so this is not a thing about WeWeb. This is for any browser. So we're using this set interval right here. Timer interval equals to set interval. And here we're going to be calling the variable that's called time remaining, meaning those 1,500 seconds. And we're going to do a formula math.max, and we're going to decrease it by -1 here. We're going to actually decrease it by 1. So this means that we created a loop that runs every set interval, and it's going to decrease 1,500, 1,499, 1,498, and so forth, right? So it's going to be every second, every tick is going to be decreasing one value. Now, since that is going to be running at the set interval, meaning we started the timer is going to run by itself forever, basically, we need to have some sort of way of understanding if that value is going to reach zero. So that's why we have a formula that checks if the timer has reached zero. So what does it do? It's basically telling if the variable that's called time remaining, which is the same one here, which we are taking one number at a time. If it reaches zero, first we're gonna play an audio, like it's gonna be like bling, your timer is off. Second, we're gonna switch the timer between work and break, right? So we're gonna be changing the tag. So work is done, you're gonna start break, and I think that's it basically. Yeah, switch timer between work and break. It's gonna basically transform the value of timer type, which is this one here, in either work or break. And if it was work, turn it to break, and if it was break, turn it to work, right? But this part here is the part where we basically start decreasing one number from that. And that's it. It already works. Okay, so when we start playing, it basically is going to start decreasing 1 second, and it's going to be holding that value here in time remaining. And our time remaining, as you remember, is spitting its numbers into the formatted time formula, which is here. And this formatted time is being fed to this number right here. So that's why we're seeing 24.35, 35, 34, and so forth. I know this can be a little bit complicated, but I wanted to break down what's happening before we go ahead and try building it from scratch, which I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to, but this is the first step, trying to understand what's happening. And now, let's see what's happening with this circle right here, right? With this element, which is the timer donut. And the same way that we're grabbing the value of time remaining and we're inputting it here formatted for the specific issue case, we're going to need to do the same for the donut. Now, this donut, it needs a value from 0 to 100. So the way we're going to be able to figure it out is with another formula, right? So we had a formula to format this into this, and now we're going to need a formula to spit a value from 0 to 100, so we can use that that donut there. And the way we do it is by grabbing information from the break duration and the work duration, and we're going to do some calculation together with time remaining as well, and we're going to be spitting this. Okay, so if we go back here to timer progress, right? Timer progress calculates the progress percentage for the timer donut, returns a number between 0 and 100 based on time remaining and total duration, right? Work duration or break duration depending on the timer type. Here you can see the current value as soon as I opened it. This is the value we're going to be spitting out. And yeah, let's increase it. First, timer type. We need to figure out what kind of timer we're dealing with. Is it work? Is it break? Because it's going to be different values. I'm going to expect 25 or 5. Get the total duration based on timer type. Now, basically what I'm doing here, get the total duration based on timer type. Yeah, I'm going to be grabbing either those 25 minutes or those 5 minutes, and I'm going to be holding that value. So I do math with it, basically. Then I'm going to grab the current time, which is that time that is decreasing every second, which is time remaining, right? Time remaining. And in here is where we're going to do the calculation. So this formula is going to calculate the progress percentage inverted for the donut. And and it also needs to figure out that when time remaining is the same as the total duration, the progress should be 0. And when time remaining is equals to 0, the progress should be 100. So this does a calculation for us, and it returns a value between 0 and 100. And here you can see the speeded value, 3.2666666. And that's basically the information we're feeding to these donuts. Value, all right. We are passing the value of our formula that's called timer progress. Let me check it live. Here we can see, sorry, yeah. Here we can see in real time how the variable called time remaining is decreasing one by one. And yeah, setting value for timer donut. You see here, it's 1, right? We can't feed it 1,500. It's not going to work for this circle. I think it's easier to see if we change these values. Instead of 25, we're not going to wait for the entire 25 minutes. So let's go ahead and let's say that, yeah, let's pause it. Let's reset it. Let's say that work duration is going to be 100 and time remaining 100 as well. All right, so it's going to be 1 minute and 40. Let's make it 20 seconds. Okay, now we can preview it. Yeah, start. And you can see how the donut, it's already starting to move. And that's why, because we're setting the value for time remaining or the value for timer donut dot value, which is going to be like 25, 45, which is how much percentage of that entire. Okay, it played a sound and it started the break time basically. So you can see that this app works, which is great. Why don't we try and start building some parts of it from scratch? We're still gonna need a lot of the JavaScript because it's complex JavaScript, and I don't know exactly how to recreate it in the formulas. But why don't we start little by little, step by step, basically. So first things first, let's create this donut and this value in the middle. So let's just create a new section and let's create a progress bar, a circle progress bar, which is called actually progress, yeah, progress circular. I'm gonna drop it down. Perfect. Now, let's just increase the size of this a little bit. Let's make it 20. And let's start creating our variables, right? Because these are the ones that we're gonna be holding the value. And so the first variable we're gonna need is time remaining. Let's make sure okay, it's gonna be time remaining. It's gonna be of type number, and let's keep it the same. So 1,500, which means 25 minutes, basically. Preserve our navigation. Yeah, we do preserve our navigation. All right. Now, if I just put here time remaining and we bind it to this dynamic variable, no, I wanted to, sorry, search time. Why am I doing this here? Time remaining, right? You start to see that it's not useful. So from this step, we can make two choices. We can either start making it work backwards, or we can already format it. Why don't we format it? Because I think yeah, here we have the formula that's called formatted time, right? So format the time remaining into minutes and seconds. And this formula I will copy, right? Because it's just a time saver. All right, and in here, let's create a new formula. which was called formatted time, right? And let's edit this. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna do it in JavaScript. And in here, I'm gonna need to replace this variable. In the original one, it's pulling data from time remaining. So here I need to do the same thing. I'm gonna delete to here, to variables, and I'm gonna grab this one here, time remaining. And now we have the same thing. So what we're doing now is the formatted time is already spitting this value, 25.5. And if we change it here, time remaining, let's make it only 1,000. You can see that our formula already changes. Formatted time, it's already spitting 16.40. Okay, so it's working. So now we only need to tie it to this value. So I'm not gonna tie it to time remaining. I want to tie it to the formula we just created. You can find it here into formulas from project formatted time, 16.40. Cool. So it already starts to look a little bit like a clock. Now let's set the decreasing value formula. Let's do it one step at a time, because this is where it starts getting complex. So let's just reset it. And this part, it calls a workflow, a global workflow, right? And the global workflow is called start timer. So this is the one we need to emulate. So the first part, we need to change the variable of timer state and change it to running. So let's do that. First, we need to create that variable, which was timer state, right? Yeah. Let's just copy this. So this variable is going to be holding the state of the timer, if it is stopped, if it is running, or if it is paused. Let's paste it. It's text, yeah. And let's say the default value is stopped. Preserve our navigation. Perfect. Now, let's add a button. And when I click on this button, I want to run our clock. Actually, first we need to change the variable value like we were watching here. Set timer state to running. Let's do the same thing so we don't get lost. Set timer state to running and change variable value of timer state, and we're going to give it a value of running. Yeah. Timer state, right, which we created, and we're going to give it a value of running. All right, cool. Now here is the part where it clears out if something, if there was another timer that was running in our browser, and so we're going to clear that. It's a JavaScript, and it's this value. Okay. And the last one is the one we're interested in, which is where we actually start the decreasing the timer, right? So this part. Yeah, sorry, my dog is being annoying. All right, so this is the very important time part. And reach 0, play sound notification, switch timer type. I'm not sure I'm gonna do this right now, or maybe I should actually. Okay, yeah, let's copy this JavaScript. Okay, let's try and understand what's happening here. We're starting the set interval, so we're starting a timer, and we're using this variable we created, which is called time remaining, right? So we can replace this one here, time remaining, with our own time remaining from our own project. Okay. And again, it's going to do the same thing for the second one, right? It's doing the math, which with the same variable, basically, which we can copy from here directly. Let's just replace this here. Yeah. So it already is invoking this set interval and is decreasing one of our value here of, in this case, 1,000. Now, what I want to do is check if timer has reached 0. So again, if this value, time remaining, reaches 0, I need to replace this. If time remaining reaches 0, it's going to play an audio. Now, I don't want to do the switch timer type right now. Let me just delete this. So we don't mix things up. Let me see this one, this one. Yeah. So the only thing it's doing is decreasing from the total time, is decreasing 1 every second. And if it ends, it detects that it reaches 0. It's basically running a sound. That's all it's doing with this JavaScript formula. All right, now let's check to see if this actually works. It does. Awesome. Obviously, it can't break right now because we didn't create a function to break it. But what happens if I change the... Yeah, it's going to keep running, basically. Why don't we create a button to stop it so we don't make a mess? Beautiful UI, yeah? Let's change this one to like a red and just say stop. Here. Stop. Start. Cool. Now, we're going to need to create a workflow where it takes this time remaining and resets it. Let's go back to the original app and see how it's done here. So here we have a pause or reset. For the pause timer, it's calling, again, a global workflow that's called pause timer. So if we click on it, it has a single JavaScript. And let's see what it does. It basically is telling the variable that's called timer state, which is that variable that just holds the value of stop, running, or paused. It's telling it to be paused. Cool. And it clears the interval. Here, window timer interval null, clear interval. And this is what I explained to you here. Clear interval. This is what stops the execution. This is what stops the timer. So we're gonna copy this, and we're in the stop button. And let's do a JavaScript. Let's paste this here. Now this variable doesn't exist here, or which is called timer state. Here, timer state. So we need to replace it. From variables until here. Let's delete it and let's do our own timer state. We're gonna set it to pause and we're gonna clear our interval. Do you think it's gonna work? Hopefully. Stop. Yeah, it worked. So this one was a shorter JavaScript snippet, right? But basically, everything we're doing here is just running two JavaScript methods, which is, again, set interval, which starts a timer, and clear interval, which just clears it, right? So with those two informations, you can already go ahead and create your own timers. So the rest of what we did is we created a functional app that stores these values, that is able to change things with these values. So it's obviously more complex, but those are the only things you need. Let me just drink some water. And okay, Gilson is asking in Portuguese if I can configure the timer moving forward with an external condition, right? So as an example, if only a specific window is active, and yeah, of course, you can create you can call this formula or a certain formula or a certain function whenever something is true. So yeah, you have the freedom to do whatever you want once you understand the building blocks of what we're doing. Okay, so far we're able to start it and stop it. Now, what's the difference between resume and reset, or actually, yeah, stop or completely delete the number? We're gonna check it. The reset button, it's going to call a function, an external global function that's called reset timer. Now, this reset timer, again, also has one simple JavaScript, which basically means we need a couple more steps than the pause one, right? So the pause one, it's only saying this, clear interval, that's it. But on the delete one, what we need to do first, we need to change its timer state to stopped, reset the timer type to work, right? Because for a break or work, it needs to understand. So it goes back to work. Reset the time remaining to work duration. So basically here, what we're telling is we need to reset this value right here, right? This is 1,000. We need to set it back to the number it was before we started the timer. So this is what it's doing. And then again, it clears the interval. So this is what we do. We go back here. Let's create a new button. Another beautiful button. And this is going to be stop. And this one is going to be pause. Let's make pause orange. Kind of yellowish. And then stop, make it red, right? So the pause is just stopping it, but it doesn't delete the value. And the stop should delete the value. So let's create a new workflow. JavaScript. Let's paste this. So it's going to set the timer state to stopped. So it's this timer state. Let me just replace it with our own. Timer state to stopped. Perfect. Reset the timer type to work. Now, this is a variable we haven't created yet. So we need to go back here. Oh, we need to close this. Close. Timer type is work or break. Let's just create this variable, which is called timer type, which is going to be like hold these two values. Oops, sorry. What happened? Okay. I did something actually. Timer type, work or break. Default value is going to be work, and that's it. Now, let's get back to our JavaScript for the stop button. Yeah, I think I pasted this. This is not what I wanted. Okay, once again, set the timer to stopped. Perfect. Reset timer type to work. So this is the one we want to replace with timer type. Oh shit, snap. Okay, Once again, timer state or not, timer type. Reset it to work. Now we need to reset the time remaining to work duration. Time remaining and work duration. Yeah, this is one I haven't created yet. But we can hard code it for now, just so we understand what's happening. This one is time remaining, and we're gonna set it to, let's say, 1,000. So it resets to the value we had before, which is this one, time remaining, right? 1,000. But we can set whatever value we want, or we can do what the other app did, which is basically we're keeping that value inside a variable as well. So it's here, work duration. Work duration 20 minutes, break duration 300, time remaining 20. Yeah, I changed a lot of this. Anyway, here, once again, start. It works. Pause. It just pauses, and stop resets it to our original value, which was 16 minutes and 40 seconds. If we do start and we stop, it's going to do the same thing. Reset it. Cool. So far, we have the basics of a stopwatch, right? So it starts counting down from whatever number you want. We're able to pause it, and we're able to stop it. And we did all of that thanks to these two functions, setting an interval and clearing an interval. Cool. I think it's cool. I before we had this, I had this challenge for the clone and chill. I didn't even know how to do this, so I had to do a little bit of research. But so far, so good. Now, let's try and tackle the circle donut to start counting the values. This one here. Now, here's the place where we can input the value. So can you see that it goes from 0 to 100? So that's why we need to do a certain transformation, because if we feed it like the clock here, it's going to break. So we need to use a number from 0 to 100. And all right. And the way we do that is through a formula, as I showed here. Here. Timer progress. This is the formula we're going to be using to transform whatever number we have into 0 to 100. Let's create it. Here in our logic, we have timer progress. Here we have the explanation. Calculate the progress percentage for the timer donut. Returns a number between 0 and 100, which is based on time remaining and total duration. So guys, do you agree that in order for us to understand how long, how far is the circle, we need to understand how much time we have remaining from the countdown, and also we need to understand what is the total, right? Because that total is going to be changing, right? It's going to be changing between 25 minutes or 5 minutes, or we can input whatever value we want. So this is what this formula is doing. First is going to get the current timer type, which is going to be, are we in work mode or are we in break mode? And in here, it's going to get the total duration based on the timer type. So if it is work, it's going to grab that information. And if it is rest or break, it's going to grab that information. And it's also going to grab the time remaining, which is that, basically how much time do we have remaining from the countdown. And it's going to do this entire calculation. So and it's going to speed the 0 to 100, which I'm not smart enough to try and understand how it does this with JavaScript. I'm sure it's quite simple, but my JavaScript skills are not that advanced. Okay, let's go to logic and create a new formula. And it's called timer progress. Let's decrease this. Timer progress. Let's also copy the description so we don't get lost. And in here, let's do a JavaScript and copy this. Oh, no, not replace, sorry. And in here, cool. Now let's start replacing our variables. First, timer type, right? Which is either work or break. Let me see if we had that variable here. Timer type, yes, work or break. It does exist. Timer progress, once again, we open it up. Let's replace this with our own timer type. So we go here, timer type, perfect. Now, we're gonna be grabbing the value from two variables, which is going to be work duration and break duration. These are the two variables that we created here, where we're basically able to edit, like how long do I want the break to be and how long do I want my work to be. And for sake of simplicity, we can give it a hard-coded value right now, which is going to be, let's say, it's going to be work. On work, I want it to be 1,000. And on break, I want it to be, I don't know, 100? I have no idea which values those are. Okay. Now we need the time remaining. Time remaining. And then it's going to do the calculation. And we need to fit it here. This new formula we created. Here from project, timer progress, which obviously right now is 0. I think it could break because I didn't set this properly. Let me check. Start. Is this even changing? Here we can see. Yeah, it changed to 1. So it is working. It's spinning a value from 1 to 100. Now, the only thing I didn't... Okay, here, it works, perfect. Let's stop it. And let's go back here. Timer progress. This is the one we were working with. So these two values, right? So far, all of this, I think it's clear, right? Now, these are the ones that I hard-coded it. I said 1,000 and 100, but that's not smart. So we should give the user of our app the ability to input whatever work time and break time they want. So that's why we created these two variables, which is break duration and work duration. Break duration, let's give it this name. Normally, it is this value, 5 minutes, right? Which is 300 in seconds. It's of type number, 300. And we also need to create the work duration. Again, 25 minutes is the default for the Pomodoro method. And it's 1,500 actually. That's 25 minutes. Preserve our navigation. Yes. Cool. Back to that formula of the donut timer progress. And in here, we should replace these hard-coded numbers with those variables we just created. So if it is work, I should use this variable, which is work duration. And if it's not, if it is on break, I should use break duration. And final thing is I want to change time remaining to 1,500 because that's the one we're working with. And now it should be 25 minutes. Now, the best way to see if the donut is working is to decrease this value. Let's stop it. Oh, the stop. Remember we hard coded the stop button? Here we need to change it to be dynamic. In here I said reset the time remaining to work duration. So time remaining, I don't want it to be 1,000. I want it to be tied to this variable we just created, right? So it's always dynamic. It's called work duration. Work duration. Cool. Let's see if it works. Let's start. Stop. Yeah, 25. Perfect. So now our entire app is dynamic, and we're able to change how much time do I want to work and how much time do I want to have on my break, basically. And yeah, I wanted to show you that the donut is actually working. And the way we do that is let's decrease the work duration to 100, or let's decrease it to 50, and time remaining to 50 as well. And now if we preview, those are 50 seconds. Now I'm going to start, and you can see that it moves already. Why? Because the value it's being fed is a number from 0 to 100, because we did the entire calculation of how much time do I have to work and how much time do I have that is counting down, and how much do those two numbers compare, basically. And that's why it's working. Awesome. Now let's see if we haven't created any logic to change anything here, right? So I don't know what's gonna happen if it reaches 0. I think it's gonna count down negative, probably. And forever, basically. I'm not sure you could hear it, but in my computer it was like ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Because the only thing I told my clock is like, once you reach 0, play this sound. That was it, remember? So I guess that's the next step we should work in. What happens after we reach 0, basically? And we saw that in in formatted time. No, sorry. It was when we started the play. So as soon as I start to play, I start, let's name this workflow start timer. And the only thing we did is we said run, clear your browser for another time interval, and start timer. Now here's where we had the other functionality to see. We had like, if something happens, then this, and we deleted them for the sake of clarity, and we need to re-add them. So we can basically tell our timer to first change from work to break, and reset the number, basically. So this is what we're gonna do here. Let's just reset it. Oh no, it's here. Start timer. Let's open this formula once again. See, this entire part, we deleted it for the sake of clarity. So our app, when it reaches 0, it's only playing a sound. That's all it's doing. And we want to change that. So the two logic points we are missing is we need to switch the timer type between work and break. And that's it's a lot of variables here. So let me try to see how it works. If the variable timer type is equal to work, it's going to change it to break. If not, and then it's telling time remaining to basically reset, right? To break duration. Okay, cool. Where? Yeah, I think this is the one I need to copy. Let's press enter a couple of times. Cool. Now let's start replacing this. First, if the timer type is equal to work, if timer type, if timer type is equal to work, please change timer type to break. Okay. So if it is work, it changes back to break. Or no, did it? No, I replaced here. If it is work, turn it into break. So as soon as it reaches 0, if it is work, turn it to break, and reset the value of the timer. Time remaining should be equal to break duration. So the variable time remaining should be equal to break duration. Cool. If not, else, right, the variable timer type should go back to being work, and time remaining should be to work direction. So the opposite, basically. If not, timer type should be work, and which one was this? Time remaining, yeah. Should be reset to break duration. Break. Now, when the timer reaches 0, what I'm telling my app to do basically is, because here it has the logic. So if the variable reaches 0, if time remaining reaches 0, first play the sound. Second, if it is work, turn it into break. If it is break, turn it into work. And also reset the value according to if you're work or break. So it should work. It should. Start. 50 seconds. I should change that value. It's too long. But it's good enough for me to drink some water. All right, 30 seconds. I think this is working. So it should immediately start playing our 5 minutes rest. 5 minutes rest. And it reset all of our values. How cool is that? What happens if I tell it to stop? Is it going to change back to break or work? It went back to to work. Interesting. What happens if I play it again? Nothing. Okay. Okay, this is the other one that plays. Cool. All right. It seems to be working. So right now it's moving backwards, counting 1 second at a time. This donut is working. We have the start, the pause, the stop. As soon as it reaches 0, it starts our break, right? Let's change these 50 seconds to something like 10 seconds. So we're able to keep testing things. So work duration, 10 seconds, time remaining 10 seconds. So it's going to be easier to test things now. Even let's make it 5, right? Because we're starting to work. I want to start working in the break. Cool. Once again, oops. Now I want to, cool. what I want to do is I want to be able to showcase which label we have, right? So it's easier for us to understand what's happening. And I'm gonna add a text. Let's just copy this one. And in here, I want to use the timer type. If it is work, if it is break, let's see. So we are in work time. Break. Cool. Let's pause. Why don't we change the color of this? If we're in work, here we had it. Did it have a different color or something like that? It also shows us if it's running, if it's stopped, right? Paused. Obviously, the app the AI did was way better than mine. I just want to see if this changes. Right. So let's change the color from blue to green. Let's say we are on. Let's go back to work time. So on work, let's make it blue. Okay, where is here? Text color. Let's say if our timer type is equal to work, let's say blue. Yeah. If timer type is equal work blue, if not, green. So we're telling it if it's time to work, the color should be blue, and if it's not time to work, it should be green. Let's see if it works. Yeah, it works. Perfect. Okay, so we changed color. This is already a working product. What else can we add? How beautiful is Maya? I think there's a conditional visibility here that's being displayed as like the controls container. Depending on if it is started, they show the buttons resume and reset, and if it's not running, it hides them basically. Let me see if it has a conditional visibility, or where is it? I think it has on the buttons themselves. Here, display. If timer state is equal to running, it's either none or flex. Okay. Let's see if we can make this work. So our start button here in display, let's say that our timer state, when it is equal to running, if it is running, it should be hiding. So that's why it should be none. If it's not running, it should be flex. Let's see. So as soon as I click this, it should disappear in theory. Yeah, it disappeared. It started running, it disappeared. As soon as I pause it, it exists. Now this one, let's make it display. Actually, let's copy this one. And okay, I made it disappear. Display. If timer state is equal to paused, it should not exist. So preview, start, There we go. Seamless. And stop should only exist if after it starts playing, basically. So the stop button, if it is running, it should be none. It should only appear if it's not running. I already did. No. If the timer state is equal to stopped or paused, how many did we have? Timer state stopped. Preview, start, pause, stop. No, it's not that one. Pause. It should be paused. Yeah, pause or stop. Ah, I also want the stop button to exist when it's paused. So I think the stop button should exist. Interesting. How did they do it here? The reset button. Reset button should only exist reset button display. Oh yeah, that's because they're using stopped and we're not. Okay, let's just leave it like that for now. But so far so good. Obviously we can change a lot of things, like this little thing here is bothering me. At some point I should change it, but we have a success. We have a timer that runs backwards. We created a bunch of displays that are conditional, right? So it depends on if you're on a break or if you're in a work. We changed colors. We created a bunch of variables to hold our values. We created the logic to walk backwards and the logic to feel the spinning, the donuts, right? So I think it's quite complete. From then on, it's only about polishing, right? Because the app the AI made in like 5 seconds, which it took me an hour to try and emulate a worse version, it has a lot of amazing things. Like it has a pulsating animation, right? Every second. It has changing in colors, in tags. It's a way better app. But I am proud that we managed to replicate most of its functionality, basically. All right. So I think that will be it for today, guys. And this is good enough. I don't think I'm going to spend time polishing it to this state, right? But once again, I am also amazed by the AI. It managed to create this with one single shot. It created all of the formulas, all of the workflows, and this is completely usable. You can publish this and use it in your own daily work and study life. So super cool. All right. So that will be it, guys. Thank you so much for coming and for watching this, to watch me explain poorly a lot of variables and workflows all made in JavaScript. But that's also how we learn, to take a couple to take a couple of steps back and trying to figure out how things work. That's the best way to learn. All right. Thank you so much for coming, and I'll see you in the next event.